Let me ask you something that might actually shock you. What if the reason you're struggling to read that menu, squinting at your phone screen, or fumbling around in the dark every single night is not because your eyes are broken, but because your body stopped fueling them the way it used to? What if your vision loss is not a permanent sentence, but a biological signal your body has been desperately sending you, and nobody ever taught you how to read it? Because here is what your eye doctor almost never tells you. Your eyes are not just lenses and liquid. They are living, breathing, energy-hungry tissue. And the moment that energy starts running out, the whole system begins to quietly collapse from the inside. I spent years trying to figure out why so many people, even people who eat reasonably well and live somewhat healthy lives, still find themselves reaching for thicker and thicker glasses every single year. And when I finally started connecting the dots between cellular biology, nutrition, light exposure, and lifestyle patterns, the picture that emerged was both alarming and incredibly exciting, because it meant that so much of what we accept as inevitable aging of the eye is actually reversible if you know exactly what to target and how to do it. So stay with me, because what I'm about to share goes far deeper than any generic eat more carrots advice you've heard before. And by the time we're done, you're going to look at your vision in a completely different way. And more importantly, you're going to know exactly what to do about it starting today. Here is where this entire story begins, and it starts at the microscopic level inside a tiny, incredibly specialized region at the very back of your eye called the macula. This is the bull's eye of your retina, the structure lining the back wall of your eyeball like wallpaper, and inside this small but mighty zone lives the highest concentration of cone cells in your entire visual system. Now, cones are the photoreceptors responsible for everything you actually care about when you're trying to see: fine detail, vivid color, sharp focus, and the ability to read text at a normal distance without holding it 3 feet from your face. And here is the part that changes everything. These cone cells, particularly those packed into the very center of the macula, contain more mitochondria per cell than almost any other tissue in your entire body. Mitochondria, the energy-generating engines inside every cell, are working overtime in your eye because vision is metabolically one of the most expensive processes your body runs. Every time light hits your retina and your brain converts that signal into the image you're seeing right now, it burns through enormous amounts of ATP, the energy currency your mitochondria produce. And when you are young, your mitochondria are dense, efficient, and powerful. But as the years go by, and especially if your lifestyle has been subtly working against them, those mitochondria decline. They become fewer in number, slower in function, and less capable of generating the energy your cones desperately need. And when your cones stop getting the energy they need, they stop working properly. Colors fade, details blur, night vision deteriorates. You find yourself turning on every light in the room just to read something you could once have read in near darkness. And eventually, the structure of that central zone starts breaking down in a condition doctors call age-related macular degeneration. But here is the critical insight. This is not purely about age. Age is just the timeline. The real driver is energy failure at the cellular level. And energy failure is something we can actually influence. One of the most fascinating and rapidly growing areas of research in eye health right now involves something called photobiomodulation, which is essentially the therapeutic use of specific wavelengths of red and near-infrared light to restore and optimize mitochondrial function inside the retina. Studies out of University College London found that exposing the eyes to a specific 670 nanometer red light wavelength for just a few minutes in the morning can dramatically improve cone function and contrast sensitivity, particularly in people over 40 whose mitochondria have already begun to decline. The reason this works is elegant in its simplicity. Mitochondria have receptors called chromophores that absorb light at very specific wavelengths, and when they receive this particular frequency of red light, they essentially recharge, producing more ATP, reducing oxidative stress inside the cell, and repairing some of the cumulative damage that has been quietly building up over years. The most important thing to understand about this is the timing. Research suggests that this therapy is most effective in the morning when the mitochondria are most responsive, and that the effects can persist for up to a full week from a single short session. Now, if you are looking into red light devices for this purpose, be a cautious and informed consumer. You want devices that are certified as IEC 62471 exempt or classified as Risk Group 1, which means they meet safety standards for eye-adjacent exposure. Keep your eyes closed during the session and let the infrared penetrate through your lids. It does so very effectively. This is not a gimmick. The science behind it is genuinely compelling, and the research community is only just beginning to scratch the surface of what this technology can do for our aging eyes. But light therapy is only one piece of this puzzle, and honestly, the lifestyle factors are just as powerful, and they're completely free. Let's talk about what is actually happening when you sit in front of a screen for 8, 10, 12 hours a day. Your eye muscles, the small muscles surrounding your lens, are held in a sustained contraction, focused at a fixed distance for prolonged periods. This is called accommodative spasm, and over time it trains your visual system to become increasingly dependent on that close focal distance, while struggling to shift focus to objects further away. The fix sounds almost too simple, but the research backs it completely. You need to spend at least 2 hours every day looking at objects in the natural world, not through a window, ideally outside, and actively focusing on things at varying distances. A tree branch 50 feet away, a bird on a wire, clouds rolling across the sky. The key is intentional focus at distance, not just existing outdoors while staring at your phone. Your lens needs that stretching exercise just as much as your muscles need physical movement. And while you're doing it, make a conscious effort to blink fully every 5 seconds or so, because people who spend long hours in front of screens blink up to 60% less than normal, and incomplete blinking leaves the surface of the eye exposed and vulnerable to dryness that compounds visual fatigue and long-term damage. The 20-20-20 rule is a tool worth committing to your daily routine immediately. Every 20 minutes of screen time, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds, and blink deliberately throughout. It sounds minor. The cumulative impact over months and years is anything but. Now let's talk about nutrition, because this is where most people are missing critical pieces without even realizing it. Your eyes depend on vitamin A, not beta-carotene, which is the precursor found in orange and yellow vegetables, but preformed vitamin A, which is found in egg yolks, liver, cod liver oil, and butter. A large portion of the population has a genetic variation that impairs their ability to convert plant-based beta-carotene into usable vitamin A, which means that no matter how many carrots or sweet potatoes they eat, they are not actually getting adequate vitamin A to the tissues that desperately need it, including the retina. Night blindness is often the first symptom that shows up, but the underlying deficiency is quietly affecting the entire visual system long before that. If your liver is under stress, from fatty liver disease, a history of high alcohol consumption, long-term medication use, or chronic digestive inflammation, your ability to absorb and process fat-soluble vitamins like A and D is further compromised. This is why simply taking a supplement is sometimes not enough. You have to address the absorption environment too. Then there are two remarkable plant compounds called lutein and zeaxanthin, which function as the eye's internal sunscreen, filtering out harmful high-energy blue light and protecting the delicate tissue of the macula from oxidative damage. These compounds concentrate specifically in the macula and the lens, precisely where you need them most. Egg yolks are the most bioavailable source. The cholesterol matrix in the yolk dramatically increases absorption compared to plant-based sources like kale or spinach, even though those greens contain higher absolute quantities. If you are eating 2 eggs every morning, you are doing something genuinely therapeutic for your eyes that most people are completely unaware of. Here is something that almost never comes up in conversations about vision health, but has a profound impact: vitamin B1, also known as thiamine. When B1 levels drop, and they drop more easily than most people realize through high carbohydrate diets, heavy coffee and tea consumption, chronic stress, and blood sugar dysregulation, the autonomic nervous system begins to malfunction. The autonomic nervous system controls the smooth muscle activity that governs your tear glands. Without adequate tear production, the surface of the eye dries out, becomes inflamed, light-sensitive, and fatigued in ways that worsen visual clarity and accelerate long-term damage to the corneal surface. People who suffer from chronic dry eye syndrome and have tried every artificial teardrop on the market without lasting relief are often suffering from a B1 deficiency that has never been identified or addressed. Correcting the B1 deficiency, and more importantly, correcting the root dietary pattern driving it, can produce dramatic improvement in a condition that billions of dollars worth of over-the-counter products have failed to solve. The eye is the window not just to the soul, but to the metabolic state of your entire body, and it reflects nutritional imbalances with remarkable precision if you know how to read the signals. Blood sugar is the other massive factor that the mainstream conversation around eye health consistently underplays. Elevated blood glucose does something called glycation. It chemically binds to proteins throughout the body and degrades their function. Inside the lens of your eye, this glycation is what drives the development of cataracts, that progressive clouding of the lens that dims and blurs vision in a way that glasses cannot fully correct. Inside the retina, sustained high blood sugar damages the tiny capillaries that feed the photoreceptors, causing the condition called diabetic retinopathy, which is one of the leading causes of irreversible blindness in the world. But here is the part that should concern everyone, not just people with diagnosed diabetes. Even subclinical blood sugar elevation, the kind that doesn't show up as diabetes on a standard fasting glucose test but represents years of dietary excess and insulin resistance, is doing this same slow structural damage to the eye over time. The prescription is fundamentally the same whether your blood sugar issues are severe or subtle. Reduce refined carbohydrates and sugars, increase healthy fats and protein, practice intermittent fasting to allow insulin levels to drop and metabolic repair processes to activate, and exercise consistently because nothing improves insulin sensitivity and mitochondrial density more reliably than regular physical movement. There is also an extraordinary natural compound called N-acetylcarnosine, available as eye drops, that has been shown in clinical studies to penetrate the cornea, enter the lens, and actively break down the glycated protein clusters that form cataracts, essentially dissolving them from the inside out. It is not guaranteed to work for everyone at every stage, but the evidence is strong enough and the safety profile is excellent enough that it deserves serious consideration for anyone dealing with early to moderate cataract development. Vitamin D is the final pillar I want to bring your full attention to because its role in eye health is so vast and so underappreciated that an entire book could be written about it. And in fact, one has been by Dr. Harold Cheel, whose research on high-dose vitamin D3 and its impact on elevated intraocular pressure is nothing short of remarkable. Glaucoma, the progressive damage to the optic nerve from elevated pressure inside the eye, is conventionally managed with prescription drops and eventually surgery. But vitamin D3, at therapeutic blood levels achieved through careful supplementation with magnesium and vitamin K2 to support its metabolism and direct it safely, has demonstrated in clinical work a genuine ability to reduce intraocular pressure and protect the optic nerve in ways that pharmaceuticals often cannot. Vitamin D is anti-inflammatory. It modulates immune activity in the delicate tissues of the eye. It supports mitochondrial function, and it plays a direct regulatory role in the fluid drainage systems that govern intraocular pressure. The morning sun ritual ties into this beautifully as well. Watching the sunrise or the golden hour before sunset, not staring at the sun directly but allowing the low-angled diffuse light into your field of vision, helps reset your circadian rhythm, stimulates the production of intracellular melatonin, which is a powerful antioxidant, particularly protective of the retina, and delivers the full-spectrum light your biological systems were designed to receive. This is not mysticism. It is photobiology. And it is one of the most accessible and powerful tools available to anyone who wants to protect and restore their visual health naturally. Your eyes gave you the world. It is time to start giving something back to them, and everything I have shared with you today is the starting point for doing exactly that.